South Africa has the largest high grade vanadium ore body in the world. It is believed that South Africa holds about 50% of the world's vanadium reserves. South Africa sits as the third largest exporter of vanadium globally. It currently supplies about 17% of the market with vanadium, right? Down from a high of 25% in the 90s and 80s. Now, out of four primary processing vanadium plants that you find in the world, three of those primary plants are found in South Africa. About 90% of all vanadium that you find on the market, right, globally, is used solely in steel making and steel production, right? Particularly in the making of steel alloys, right? Vanadium is used as a strengthening agent, right, in steels. For example, if a 10-ton steel beam, right, can produce a specific amount of strength, right, you can achieve the same amount of strength, right, with less amount of steel, right, and slightly adding a small amount of vanadium to it, right? So it improves the weight, right, to strength quality of steel. Vanadium is also a very excellent corrosive resistant element. It produces an effect, a mechanical property called hardness, right, in the alloy, right? And it is basically ductile, right? Meaning that you can shape um, a steel alloy with vanadium very easily. You can machine it very easily. But the greatest opportunity for vanadium, right, lies in its use in the battery revolution, right? Particularly large scale stationary energy storage units, right? Basically, this battery that I'm talking about is known as the vanadium redox flow battery. Now, when we speak of the vanadium redox flow battery, right, we speak of a battery that is number one, of long life, right? Number two, it is cost competitive. Number three, it has the ability to store energy in high density format. So it means it can store a lot of energy, right, for long periods of time, right? And the vanadium redox flow battery is recyclable. Now, when we compare these qualities that I've just mentioned, right, and we compare them to the lithium ion battery, which is currently dominating the market, right? It's dominating the mobile battery market and it's dominating the stationary battery market, right? Now, when we compare vanadium, the vanadium redox flow battery, right, to the lithium ion battery, right, we see that the lithium ion battery is quite expensive, right? It costs a lot of money, firstly, to process and to access this lithium, right? Number two, the lithium battery, it is flammable, so it is prone to explosion or prone to catch a fire. Yes, I'm sure you've seen videos across the internet of Tesla's um, setting being set on fire, just starting with a fire out of nowhere. That is the lithium ion batteries that is susceptible to fire danger, right? And number three, the lithium ion battery is not recyclable, right? You can't recycle it in the same way that you would be able to recycle the vanadium that you find in the vanadium redox flow battery. Vanadium, you can break that thing and use the vanadium again, change its different oxidation states, and you are ready for another battery somewhere else, right? It is recyclable. Now, the way the vanadium redox flow battery is constructed and the types of components that you find in it are quite simple, right? Now, we will first look at the most simple component that you find in the vanadium redox flow battery, right? Number one, it is tanks, right? Tanks that basically carry liquids, right? Now, you have two tanks, right? Which basically carry the electrolyte, right? The electrolyte is a substance that allows electrons to flow freely, right? So, but here is that you have two types of different electrolytes, right? You have an electrolyte that you find in one tank that acts as an anode, right? And you find an electrolyte in the second tank that acts as a cathode, right? These liquid electrodes, right, are known as the anolyte, right, for the anode, right, and the catholyte for the cathode. Now, the main feature, right, and the main reason that vanadium is used in this particular redox flow battery, right, is the fact that vanadium can exist in multiple oxidation states, right? So basically meaning that vanadium, right, if mixed, right, with an electrolyte, right, can have an effect of releasing electrons, right, or accepting electrons, right? Now, let us use the anolyte as an example, right? Because it's an anode, right? We need the anolyte to release electrons, right? So we will take the vanadium oxidation states that help the general anolyte to release electrons, right? So we take the oxidation states that will help the anolyte to release the maximum amount of electrons. And we do the same thing with the catholyte, right? We take the vanadium, right, that will help the electrolyte, right, form a catholyte, right, that basically can take up electrons, right? So we have an option of about five to do this, right? You can use the the top two ones or the one bottom one and the top one. So depending on you and your resources and your technical ability, right? But using the same element, vanadium, but of a different oxidation state, you can achieve an electrolyte known as a catholyte that can take up electrons, absorb electrons. Now, the second most important component that you can find in the vanadium redox flow battery, right, is basically known as the stack, which carries a membrane, right? It is a membrane, right? So this stack or membrane looks like a fuel cell, right? Basically, how this membrane works, right, is that it allows electrons to pass through it freely, right, but does not allow the two types of electrolytes to mix, right? So what I mean is that the battery, you would have two tanks. One tank would carry the anolite, right, and the other tank would carry the catholite, right? Now, what separates these two tanks, right, is a membrane, right? This membrane allows electrons to flow through it, right, from one direction to another, and it does not allow the two electrolytes to mix, right? So the anolite and the catholite remain separate while the electrons produced by the reactions interact. They pass freely through the membrane, right, to generate electricity. Yes, and the fourth type of components that you can find here are basically pumps, right? Pumps, you have find two pumps, one in each tank. The pumps make sure that the 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 electrolytes are always in motion, therefore always having electrons in motion, right? So the pump keep the electrolytes moving, therefore the electrons are always moving. So basically, when we speak of the vanadium redox flow battery, we are speaking of something like this, right? It is believed that South Africa is the one with the main expertise in the development of this redox uh, battery, right? The redox flow battery using vanadium. So, yes, South Africa is a great country to look at when it comes to vanadium investments. Thank you very much. I'll see you in the next video.